Top of the agenda.
Resolution 516-16, Draft 2, urges the administrations of the State of Hawaii and the County of Hawaii to take appropriate steps to prevent the spread of rapid Ohia death. Urges the administration to collaborate with certain state and federal agencies and Native Hawaiian cultural practitioners to advise, inform, and educate the public about rapid Ohia death. Introduced by Mr. Ilagan.
Mr. Ilagan.
Move to amend Resolution 516 with the contents of 850.3.
May I have a second? It's been moved by Mr. Ilagan, seconded by Ms. David to amend Resolution 516, Draft 2 with the contents of Communication 850.3. Go right ahead.
This resolution is three-part. The first part of this amendment is to translate this resolution in the Hawaiian language, which is shown in Exhibit A. The second part is the first part was a request by Councilmember Danny Paleka to translate it into Hawaiian language. Now the second part is a request by Councilmember Aaron Chung, and what it is to urge the governor to consider issuing an emergency declaration or to take other appropriate steps for the purpose of expanding research staffing with either the University of Hawaii or the Department of Agriculture, including but not limited to hiring or contracting of forest pathologists. Pathologists. Can't seem to read that word. So that's the second part of this resolution. Now the third part is a result of what had happened when Councilmember Onishi urged myself to bring Mr. Flint Hughes and also JB Friday to talk to the mayor. And after having talked to the mayor, come to find out that the mayor was definitely educated in the issue, and one of the people who helped educate him was actually Councilmember Onishi, bringing up the PowerPoint and information for him. But after the discussion that we had, we also had Warren Lee there. We felt that the mayor, listening to Mr. Flint Hughes, the idea to have an immediate response to this issue is to hire an arborist in Public Works and to acquire the necessary equipment to prevent the spread of rapid Ohia death. And so this amendment is actually the product of our discussion, and I asked for the council members to accept all three of these amendments, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ilagan. Council members on the amendment, if you guys had a chance to take a look at it, Ms. Yoff.
I'm just going to say good job, Gregor. I'd like to know who translated it into Hawaiian.
I was going to ask that.
So who translated it is actually thanks to Councilmember Paleka's staff, who initiated it, and I believe starting with Nadia and was it Kavehe also, who looked through it and made sure that it was all finally edited.
This needs a rapid response. We gotta respond as fast as we can. The unfortunate thing for me is I wish I had more knowledge regarding the fungus. I think I'm kind of up to date and been talking with a lot of people, and even sought some who I thought was one of the revered lao or plant specialists from that we have passed down through the generations. And yeah, so it is very important. So I will use it this time, Mahalo. But thank you, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paleka.
The part about having it further resolved that the governor urges, at the last meeting, remember I mentioned to Dr. Flint was that be ready because May 10th I was going to be up in Honolulu and schedule a meeting with the governor. We did do that. It did happen. So we did get to talk to the governor already. They did their presentation. We had CTAR there. We had P-Bark. We had forestry. We had DLNR. We had also Department of Ag, and we and also Mr. Chung was there, and then we had this woman from the Oahu Invasive Species Committee there, and so and then we had the mayor on teleconference, and so the mayor told the governor, whatever we need to do, he was ready to do it, to declare an emergency. So the governor's concern was only that he wanted to make sure if he declares an emergency, what will the federal government do? So DLNR and Department of Ag was supposed to be going out and finding out from the feds on what they're going to be providing. And supposedly what we were told at our meetings when we talked to Dr. Flint was that if there's a declaration, U.S. Forestry was going to come in and provide fundings. But for funny thing is that when we went up there before we briefed the governor, he doesn't know now. so it's like, so it's so frustrating sometimes because we hear stuff in front of us and then we meet with them, they tell us something, and then when now we going for the gusto, now it's like, then something else happens, right? Or the information is not all there. So thank God that like I said, DLNR and Department of Ag will be looking into it and to making sure what can be provided. So the governor is on vacation right now because his daughter is graduating from college. And so as soon as he gets back within like 2 weeks, so we're looking at not this week but next week, I'm going to follow up again with the two different departments to make sure that they got the info and relaying that message to the governor so that the governor can contact our mayor, Kinoy, to make sure that everybody's on the same board and to decide, okay, now if there is funding, declare an emergency. Okay, so I would say within the next month, we should be having it restricted from transporting to whatever we need to do, and also providing funding for the necessary of eradicating it, because the only way you're going to eradicate this fungus is you have to burn it, right? I mean, we cannot wait for the composting plant because that's going to take over a year, right? But you drop it, which is the only feasible thing that you can do now, but it's the pores that come out from the beetles that go and let all this dust fly up, and if the wind catches it, then it's going to affect an injured tree. So we need to move forward fast on this. And I don't want to, like I told the governor, I don't want to see this being like the fire ants and the cookie frogs, right? Because nothing was done. Our island got infested, and now the state is looking at preventing it from going to the other islands, right? It's contained it on our island. Okay, but this Ohia not going to happen because what they worried about, what Dr. Flint had mentioned, if this fungus hits Kohala, there's a possibility the wind can blow them to Maui. Then from Maui, it goes to like to Molokai, Lanai, right? And then from there it goes to Oahu and then goes to Kauai and then Nihil. So then the whole state gets wiped out, right? So, we should really take this serious and we gotta move forward. But I mean, this is great, a resolution, but we should have done it in a bill form, an ordinance or whatever, and have it done like immediately so that we can help out, right? Because I mean, if we're looking at the styrofoam, I mean, this is, I think, more important. But thank you. So I don't know if this amendment is needed now, but we did tell the governor that a reso was going to be coming to him, right? But it might be like too late. I mean, not too late, but that action will be moving already. Yeah. So something to think about. Thank you.
Just briefly, awesome that it got translated into Hawaiian and that you fit in the rest of everybody's concerns, or, making sure the governor is like emergency. But, okay. All in favor of the motion to approve or motion to amend? Wait.
Chair, so is it possible to separate? Because I support the Hawaiian part, the translation, but then for the urging the governor, I mean, I don't think we need to have that in there.
I don't think it does any damage to have it in there.
Well, but then, just like people might think, oh, yeah, no, we will get a message out to the governor, right? But that's okay. I mean, well, if it's okay, then yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Chung.
Oh, yeah. In response to Mr. Onishi's concern, I did mention, right, to the governor, governor, there is a resolution circulating at the county council, and it's going to be possibly urging you to do something. We don't want you to feel offended, if it comes up after we have this discussion and you're, fully considering the issue anyway. But, so I guess no harm, and, he's been alerted to it. But I agree with Mr. Onishi. I think it would be better if we took it out. I mean, even if it was my suggestion. But, whatever.
Ms. Willie.
Yeah, I think it's good to have it in there, memorialize it, or else so this goes out to the public and everyone, and I think he can handle it.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of the motion to amend or the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's 9 ayes, motion passes. Now on the main motion as amended, but before we do that, we gotta, because this is a final reading of this, even though it's a resolution, we gotta
Move
Suspend the
to
rules.
suspend our rules to allow us to take this resolution and approve it. Do you know what? Is that good?
That's good.
Okay.
There's been a motion to suspend our rules made by Mr. Iligan. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Onishi, so that we can discuss this resolution and vote on this resolution today because it was amended, substantial amendments. All in favor of the motion to suspend our rules, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 9 ayes, motion passes.
So I gotta first thank the chairperson for allowing this reso to come before the council and initiate the conversation that we had with Mr. Flint Hughes and JB Friday. And at the same time, Councilmember Onishi and Councilmember Chung went up to the governor and took that extra effort to inform our state side, where originally this reso was only targeted towards what we can do as a county. Now, we're actually working together as a body to bring the information to the state. And meetings has been occurring, I believe, in Hamakua side, and Councilmember Valerie Poindexter, and I believe Miley and also Karen has been attending those meetings that were held in Volcano and also on the west side. So we all played a big role in this, and also Danny's effort in advocating this issue. It's right in our district. We share Puna, and this was first. We can see the devastation in the Puna area that we share. So I just want to let the council members know that I really appreciate their help and their effort in taking this issue on. And I appreciate the others that are moving this forward, because alone it can't be done. And regarding funding, when we discussed it with the mayor, we are going to make amendments in the budget to allow that hire of an arborist. And that arborist is actually going to be found and searched or recruited by Flint Hughes and JB Friday. They're the one who's going to make sure that we pick the right guy or gal to make that position effective in preventing the spread of rapid Ohia. And at the same time, we're also going to be allocating equipment such as an incinerator to be able to get rid of the logs there at the homeowner's location instead of bring it to another location and potentially risk the spread of rapid Ohia death. So I just want to say, as a county, we're not only going to be allocating funds to tackle this effort, but I believe the different departments are also looking into ways to make sure that their protocols are tight and they're preventing the spread as well.
Thank you very much, and I do think we all making efforts in this area. And I know there was a comment comparing to styrofoam. I did have an agenda item I wanted to move forward, and the chair had asked me to hold off. This is months ago, because he wanted to do a presentation. So I did defer to that, and I still think that the presentation that he discussed with me, even beyond those who were present, would be a good idea. You know, in terms of the question of bill versus resolution, when we're asking someone that we don't have authority over to do something, it's a resolution. And certainly here where we're doing, the first draft is really University of Hawaii and others, and the different boards, Public Works and Department of Environmental Management and R&D, but also with Department of Business, Economic Development, Tourism of the state, you know, then it's appropriate. I do think that there is still room for further bills, just in terms of what we can do, we, the county. You know, I always go back to the very first legislative thing that I worked on, which before I was a council member, which was on the Little Red Fire Ant, and it was directed towards the county. And then it's still, nothing happened, and it's the state's Kuleana, even though it was a 9-0 vote. But just looking at what we can do right here, I know, like in my newsletter, I put out a whole thing to my community in terms of being aware, and that we don't have it yet in Kohala. And that looking at basically there are issues that the southern half of the state needs to address where it is already pretty much covered, and then of the southern half of the county, and then the northern half of the island is largely not yet infested, and what is our plan for where we don't have it, and how we can look at it as a forest fire. And what actions we take. And I do agree in terms of that whole why it's always the containment theory for our island, and let's contain it here, is that those other islands need to be aware of that potential impact, just as whether it's styrofoam, all the winds go that direction. The styrofoam goes up to the other islands. The winds go up there. All it takes is one. I look at the hurricane as largely what really inflamed this, with all of that condition and growing it. So this is certainly a good first step, and great that you've got these people involved. I do wonder if at some point we should be putting together like an ad hoc committee on this with others, and just, really where there's a lot of oversight. So I think as a first step, this is great, but we need to really be in every way proactive on this issue.
Great you mentioned about the fire ants, because that's what I was going to mention about, is that you mentioned before, and you always, as an advocate about it, saying that, I went and pushed for the fire ants and it was voted 9-0 and nothing happened, right? And yeah, because it was a reso, right? If it was a bill, then things could have happened, but it was a reso, and it encouraged maybe the state to do something. But if the state wants to do it, they're going to do it. But if not, but we, the county, needs to do something, and that's what I'm saying. So to bring up that, and then, like I'm saying, it's just the importancy. You're talking about environment, right? About taking care of the Aina, and this is a major Aina thing, a problem. We lose Ohia trees, we lose Hawaii, to me. So that's what I'm saying, is that we need to move forward.
When Mr. Hughes mentioned this, there has been residents who are concerned about what to do. And the idea with this arborist is able to go to the landowner, to that household, and be able to identify diseased trees. And then with the equipment that is allocated, like a mobile incinerator, be able to burn those logs so they're cut down there and then taken care of at their property and handled that way.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is, what kind of funding are we looking at? Have you folks decided on the amount?
So right now, Mr. Hughes and Mr. Friday, is looking at what the salary is going to be for the arborist and also the price for the mobile incinerator. And with that amount, we're going to amend the operating funds to allow those purchases.
So this is for next fiscal budget.
Starting July 1st, correct.
Okay, so we're going to be having, so this is like, so it's May, June, July. So maybe about at least 2 more months. We gotta wait. Okay. The next question is, so who's gonna be doing the incinerating?
That's the reason why the equipment is allocated for the incinerator. That has to definitely be worked out within the department.
What department?
Department of Public Works.
Okay, so they're going to have a crew that's going to go out when there's a report from that person who they hire. And
I think
say,
the detail is still being worked out.
Okay, but kind of basically like that, and then Public Works will come out and then they're going to cut it down and then they'll incinerate the trees.
Like I said, those details are still going to be worked out.
Yeah, but kind of like that, right?
But that's the theory.
Okay. So what about the forests? What are we looking at the forests?
So this is one of the actions we're looking to do. I don't have...
Do you have an idea of how many households are in effect that are infected?
I have Mr. Friday and Mr. Hughes probably could give that estimate better than I can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Mr. Onishi, I know Mr. Paleka had a question. Anybody want to go before him? Ms. Willie.
I think it's great in terms of having an arborist, not just for the Ohio issue, but I know there's certainly in dealing with, say, Parks and Recs, they've had questions about just cutting trees down rather than trimming them and causing a great deal of concern in my district. But just in terms of going out and doing this, I would suggest that it be done first to deal with it as a fire break. In other words, hitting those households and those locations so that we're creating some kind of fire break. I think they explained where there are areas in the county where it's just completely decimated, destroyed with the virus, but then there are areas then moving north where it's sort of spot locations. And then further north, such as in Kohala and parts of Hamakua, where there is none, and really sort of working back from the area where there is none, and really looking at it, I just look at it in the vision of a fire. And I'm glad to hear you agree with me. I seem to be, my counsel Onishi, misunderstanding what I was saying and seeking to correct me of how important this is. And just so you know, I totally, my statements are in agreement with yours.
Ms. Yoff.
Thank you. Yes, all of us agree how serious and important this matter is. And I think that the question about the forest is only going to be solved with the break, the sort of like fire break, which they explained to us during their presentation in Kona. And the mobile incinerator is a great thing for homes that either border the forest or maybe in my district in Koloko could possibly go there.
I wanted to also thank my colleague, Mr. Nishi and Mr. Chang, for going up to the state and, expressing how important this is. It's so valuable to have them. In regards to what we're going to do now, we can keep everything moving in this direction. Ordinance, resolution. I think it's really important to get our tree trimmers, guys that can actually do it. Maybe, I don't know if we should wait for the arborists to come in, but I think if they're confident enough and feel themselves experienced enough to go ahead and start doing, we know what needs to be done is burn it. And so, I've done myself. One good thing that I gotta point out, that's that trees that were diseased and were cut down to the stump, some have regenerated. So that's a promising thing to also look at. And I think I gotta convey that to Mr. Houston. Maybe have them, the experts, come take a look at some of those trees. But anyway, it is important. I thank you for doing this. We need more ordinances, but we really gotta get a hold of this thing. And it's really disheartening to see it affecting just that brown color when you see it affecting more areas. It's like so hard. But this is a very, very serious matter. And I think our community knows that too. And hopefully, if you're out there listening, please do what you can to help. And I know everyone is concerned about this. But thank you.
Ms. David.
Thank you, Mahalo Chair. And I also wanted to express my support to Mr. Ilagan, because I know this is a matter like we have to start somewhere. And Mr. Onishi and Mr. Chung, I think what you have done at the state level is very important, because we as a body basically understand the threat that this poses to our island. And I think if we all offer whatever we can do to help, I think we can actually resolve this and save our island, hopefully, before it's too late. So thank you very much. I yield.
Any other discussion? Yeah, I think we can vote on this. Just Mahalo, glad to see this moving forward. All in favor of the motion to approve, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's 9 ayes, motion passes.